Hey, I'm Akasha. I'm from Australia. It's a lovely sunny day here, and I know it's often sunny in Australia, but I live in one of Australia's rainiest places, so I'm always grateful when it's sunny. And Artisans of Time is a regenerative sci-fi story that flips the script on the usual apocalyptic futures that we see in very, very, very cool films that I love, like The Matrix, Mad Max, or like Blade Runner. But still, I just wanted to present something really different.
Wait, so is this optimistic sci-fi?
Yeah, because look, my background was a creative writing degree, but I was also doing like graduate level biodiversity. And so I've been educated in all the elements of storytelling. Everybody must know the hero's journey. The modern version of that is called like Save the Cat. And basically, in those sorts of stories, you've got adventure, you meet a mentor, you cross a threshold, you bring back the boons. But it's always, I find in sci-fi, and it's becoming a little bit more diverse, you could say, but I always find it's kind of like man battles, apocalyptic kind of future. And I feel that there's more room to explore a world where there's, personal growth, challenges, and transformation in a more hopeful and regenerative world. Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear you say that. I am so done with the apocalyptic sci-fi. I want like visions of the future that I want to actually move towards. Because that's the coolest thing about sci-fi is you get to imagine worlds that don't exist, and those can be sort of signposts on like this is how the world could be. Maybe we should work to actually making it real.
And we have examples like, Jules Verne 100 or more years ago, envisaging the ideas that we have now today, submarines, video calls. And so we're very conscious that, energy flows where our attention goes, sorry. And the idea is that we don't always have to depict the future as bleak and hopeless, and we can instead build a world where we have more stories that show a future that is both technologically advanced, inclusive, and full of possibility, and of course very rich in its environment, like the world with Artisans of Time that I've created. Yeah, it's actually
I'm
quite a big
I can't even
responsibility for
tell you how
storytellers.
excited I am to hear this. This is my own hobby horse that I get on all the time, and so I'm so pumped that this is what you're making.
Well, you're actually part of it. I mean, you are actually creating that world. You've gone, what if the world was, was created by artists and creators in a way that they want to? Because, I was kind of like kicked out of creative writing degrees. Like if you kind of
Hmm.
get my vibe, like so this is like 25 years ago. I'm in my 20s. I'm doing a graduate certificate in biodiversity, particularly marine biodiversity, right? So I'm learning all about marine ecosystems, like the huge world that's under the oceans. And
Hmm.
I was like, how can I incorporate that into my creative writing degree, right? And so I was applying for my PhD. Um, I was a group of like 10 women or so who had gone, finished our honors, was going to go into what I thought, like, of course I'll do my PhD in creative writing, put in my proposal. My proposal was, what if I did like an epic, because my specialty was poetry. What if I was published at that point. What if I did
Mm.
like an epic poem like Homer, but it was about like the civilizations of dolphins and how humans interact with them, and then like they learn how to decipher like dolphin language, because dolphins actually have language. They have like 4,000 or more
Yeah,
words that we
and
know
that's
of,
what we're
right?
doing now. Like we're using AI to actually decipher, marine language from whales and dolphins and other animals.
I was despite winning the university prize for poetry that year, I was the only student not accepted to go through to the PhD stream for my creative writing.
Ahead of your time. Ahead of your time.
Always, so sadly. So the world never got to hear that epic poem. Maybe now, who knows? But yeah. So anyway, back to Artisans of Time. So yeah, a totally different vision for sci-fi, and I guess yeah, I really want to imagine a future and get everybody else imagining too. I'm very deep in the regen refi kind of scene. I'm part right now of educating the next round of Gitcoin grant recipients about how they can market their grants. So I'm very big in the regen kind of like, I believe that we're all here in this beautiful point in time to add our own vision for what we think the world can be and start putting the stones in place, the foundations in place for what that could be. So my strength, I think, is in kind of imagining the future and imagining what it could be. And so I really want to bring Artisans of Time, which is a full script, by the way. It's a full script. It's available for download on Coverfly, or if you ask me, happy to send it to you. Full disclosure, I think it could benefit from a team of people working on it. Like if it got picked up and it was, scripts always benefit from being worked over, but it is
Sure.
there as a full 100-page script. It
And is this for a feature film or a
Yeah,
TV
I've got a
series,
few
or what's the
sci-fi
format?
regenerative films, but I've picked out Artisans of Time because I think it's the most kind of visually catchy. It features Emma. If you wanna scroll forward to the one that has that picture of Emma again that we had up earlier. There we go. So that's Emma. She's a hardware artist. I don't know if you know them before. I didn't even really know about hardware artists before I had this, like, created Emma in my mind. Maybe she's like the Leonardo of the future, right? So her background is that she's living in a world where you're not allowed to be an independent creator. Hey, it's not so different from where we are now with wage slavery, except that in their world, it's like actually you're not allowed to be an independent creator. So, although the world is like naturally very diverse, the landscapes have been regenerated, Earth is flourishing. The world is basically pretty much all controlled by AI and an elite that controls the AI. So, there's definitely challenges. It's a sort of utopia, because it's kind of the utopia that the regen kind of world envisaged, but what's been lost along the way um, is human freedom. So basically, her journey is one of resilience, creativity, and fighting for equality, and also freedom of thought in a society that suppresses technological creativity of the masses. And if you think, like, there's a lot of parallels where we are now. I mean, that's what good sci-fi is always about, because right now there's no laws stopping us from being creative, but as you know, there's no funding. You pretty much everyone, cost of living, ridiculous rents,
Yeah.
who can
It
own a
feels like taking a
house.
a vow of poverty often to be a creator, especially if you're, doing your own work, your own creative ideas. So difficult.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And so I've always striven to have a career where I can balance my creativity with, I work in Web3 because I get to be creative. Like that's one of the things. Like as a marketer, I get to go and create campaigns, create strategies. It's really, really exciting. I'd still get to explore that creative element of myself, even though if it's not my original kind of world building, kind of narrative design kind of capacities. But the other aspect where I've really tried to hit home is if on that slide up a few ago. Don't worry about going there, but on that slide with all the covers of all the kind of future films, which are
Yeah,
like
yeah.
amazing. It's always this man battles world, right? So, I
Yeah.
mean, not every sci-fi has a male like leader, and I'm not, but like a lot of the big ones do. And I was
Sure.
like, okay, but what if we take it back to being more a young woman, just a young person, and they're positive and they're hopeful. And it's not that they're, embittered or struck, they're like they actually, it's because it's like it's kind of also a reflection of my own journey in STEM. I'm a woman in Web3, you could say. I've been here since 2017, and I've often been the only woman on a team.
Yeah.
And I've had to create spaces for women in Web3 again and again and again. In the last couple Gitcoin grant rounds, I created a group specifically for the women in the grant rounds to support each other, and then we'd create collections on the Gitcoin page to
Mm.
to um, to share each other's work and support it, because in Web3 and any form of tech often can be very, very isolating, very hard obviously to get funding. Women founders only get about 2% of all VC funding, and I don't know what it is in Web3, but it's probably not much better. So it's also kind of a reflection of like, okay, how can we depict Emma, because and those kind of stories of the future, they've still got to kind of reflect home to what we're feeling today.
So
Yeah.
all of the I don't know if you're gonna get here, but I've got a whole host of questions, and maybe that'll be distracting, or maybe it'll help guide. But so you've got this full script. You've done a lot of this beautiful pre-visualization with AI generated imagery. Is this going to be like an AI generated feature film? Not to
Mm,
bias it,
question.
but super interesting to me if it is.
I would love to explore the future of filmmaking with it, in that it could be all AI done. Now, I didn't bring along any today, I'm sorry. On the actual season 4 page, I have uploaded the artifact as a video. I'm not sure exactly whether people get that as an NFT or they get the image. Which is it, Renee? Did they get the
They get both actually. So
Oh, they get
if you if you create an artifact that has a video, the
okay,
image becomes like the cover. And
okay.
so if you go to Artisans of Time right now, it's in the chat log. And if you buy an artifact with Ethereum on mainnet, you'll get it in your wallet. And if you open it up on OpenSea, you'll be able to see both the image and the video. Or if you just go to the project page right now and you click on it, you can see the video, which is really beautiful.
Very exciting. Okay, so I've created a lot of videos as part of this. I got inspired, I think, because I created this script about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Put it in a lot of competitions, did okay, got a merit in a couple of them, like the Big Apple Film Festival. But I wasn't expecting much because it is so different.
Mm.
And so I was like, and a year or so later, I spoke to Abhishek from Magic Studio in India, and he does a lot of really AI kind of film generator stuff. I had a big talk with him, and I was like, wow, nothing stops me. I can start Artisans of Time the way I see it, because actually I wanted my own story was I was like, I want to go and be a film director at uni, but I got into law instead. So I went and trained in human rights law. I'm actually a qualified international commercial arbitrator. If anybody has an arbitration dispute
Oh,
over
I've got so many arbitration disputes that, with my wife, with, some of my family members, like, please, I'll just tap you on the shoulder. You can come in and arbitrate.
happy to do it any time and write an award. That will be supported by a court, but nonetheless. So, Artisans of Time, I'd like to explore, whilst keeping the concept of like it's obviously very bohemian, very rich. It's very I'm all about, particularly whether it's climate tech or any tech. I'm all about like decolonization, like traditional owners of traditional, guardians of the planet, indigenous cultures. They have so much wisdom that if we just tap back into that, our lives change, our perspectives change. We open back, joy and connection and bliss
Mm.
and positivity and possibility again. And so I really want to have this openness to Artisans of Time where we can create a vision that's very, textured and layered, and multicultural. And obviously Emma is envisaged as mixed race. The other lead of the story, he's on the last page, but you'll meet him later. Marcus, he was very much inspired by a American Indigenous man that I know. So I very much wanted to bring in all the like a future world where all the cultures just kind of mix. And I'd love to explore the future of filmmaking in that way too. So yes, AI will be a big component of it. I don't know really if you could make it live action with how richly the world is envisaged, unless of
Yeah.
course you did a lot of CGI, which is mostly like coming to AI now anyway. Yeah.
Cool. Let's keep going. I'm so excited to get the full picture.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Well, let's scooch next slide over and jog my memory where we're at.
We're at the script, the Big Apple Film Festival.
We're there, we're there. Well, that's it. So where you can support us right now, obviously, is on Artisan Fund, and I'm really, really super happy. Thank you to have been accepted into so many matching rounds. Any more matching rounds want to accept us in? Happy to
Yeah,
join.
we're going to be poking all of the admins, the people who launch these match funds, to review new projects. So if you got removed from any match fund, you can edit your submission. They'll get a notification. So if they gave you like feedback for why you were removed, you can, edit and then comment on your submission. They'll see it and
Yeah.
they can reevaluate. And then you can continue to submit to any match funds that are live or that we launch before the end of the season and be considered for that. And if you get approved, you'll unlock those match funds.
Super cool you said that, Renee, because I was checking yesterday and another project very similar to Artisans of Time was accepted into a heap more rounds. So I was like, what did they do differently? So anyway,
Yeah,
yeah,
just really read the eligibility requirements for each
yeah,
one and make
yeah,
sure that your answer for how do you qualify references those specific things. And if you do that, it makes it easy for the admin to be like, "Oh, okay, cool, let's approve it."
beautiful. I bet everybody needs that information, so I'm glad we brought that up. All right, next slide. Let's clock on over. All right, so this is the vision behind the film. So obviously, I've been in Web3 a lot, Web3 gaming. I've launched tokens, NFTs, helped in the development. So I'm actually, when I pictured as a time, it wasn't just a script, it's kind of just the start. I could write a novel, maybe if I've got enough time. That sounds a little bit boring to be sitting at my computer every day for the next year. What I'd love instead, really, is to create kind of like a VR, AR, immersive world that's kind of like this whole kind of kind of ecosystem of storytelling where people can come in, add their own stories. And the other big aspect to me that I'd really, really like to explore is, of course, a game where people earn rewards for real life environmental actions. And it has a regenerative, potentially AI kind of chatbot kind of coach guiding them. Like that's a discussion for another day. But I work a lot on AI too, and the VR element. I'd love if people could just like take their devices and look at their cities, because our cities are so grey and so dirty. And I'd just be like, what if they could reimagine their city as like an Artisans of Time city? And I know it's going to happen because, like, when I've been at like tech shows and down in Melbourne and things, I've seen the technology. So they've got like liquid solar panels now that are in different colors, and they can make glass in different colors that are solar panels. So I really sincerely believe that although there's a lot of disparaging of of clean energy tech, the tech is already there to create cities like where the windows are basically all energy creation devices. So when I was creating these AIs, like the AI images that you see here, I was like, okay, what if the whole windows of this city is actually energy gathering devices? So the vision
So
is
cool.
like, yeah, if people can have their AI, so their AR um, on their device, just scroll around and go, oh my god, this is what the city would look
Mm,
like if we actually start instituting some of the tech that we have now, whether
mm.
it's solar window tech, or it's just like regenerative gardening. Because there's so many spaces in our cities that we can reclaim to grow our own food, to make it
Yeah,
beautiful again, to have food forests. Because part of the hardship as a creator, of course, is that you still have to be part of the kind of the food chain, and make that money to buy that food. And you might not have your own garden. So how can we have common spaces again, like we used to, the common lands,
sure.
where it's actually, which we can do with Web3. We can manage common lands now, through incentivizing different actions with tokens and so forth.
Mm.
We can have these places managed and created again, and feed people again right in our urban centers. So yeah,
So cool. Is
yeah.
there more to the presentation?
There might be. Scroll on.
I like that. All right. I like that you're not entirely sure. There might be. It might go forever. Who knows?
Oh, the artifact. This is the artifact we were talking about before. So of course, that is the full picture of like what it looks like in like and I've designed, and then the square version is the artifact available. If you want to see the full version animated, you can just hit on my Twitter, and I think I've got it as the top pinned post. But of course, I've got so many of these I've been creating, and I just want an outlet. So anything that you can do to help support Artisan's Time, help me create this kind of world for creativity, for regeneration, for just possibility, and for actual embracing and incorporation of clean tech, new tech. Because a lot of the arguments that we're having, whether it's about wind turbines or
Mhm.
the solar panels, it's outdated. New tech is already here. It's just that the incumbents already, just like we can't get rid of oil and coal because, that's all owned by companies. The same, the new technology tech is owned by companies, and it's the scientists who are already here and ready with the new tech to deploy. It's the regenerators of this world, the people who are, part of, climate tech and refi, they're already here and ready and willing to plant the trees, to regenerate the commons, to incentivize it. We all have the tech right here, right now. It's just we need to turn on our brains and imagine how we can now implement it, not just for ourselves, for everybody as a collective kind of endeavor. So it's my
What a beautiful
obligation as a
sentiment.
storyteller to kind of depict that world. But of course, I've got to be constrained within the expectations of storytelling, which is like you've got to have the drama. So, Artisans of Time combines the picture of a beautiful, beautiful future that we're all right now, right here, part of creating, as well as like incorporating those aspects of like drama and intrigue.
So
Yeah.
cool. Well, to give you a quick
Yeah.
update, you sold, your second artifact, 3 minutes ago.
Oh, thank you.
Um,
Thank you,
we need,
people.
like, a sound effect for every time, yeah, yes. And you've unlocked $733 from that, so
Mm.
congrats.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes. That's fantastic. Thank you for having me here to chat, Renee. Happy to chat anytime, and best of luck for everybody who's part of the round. The projects that have been curated are just amazing. I'm just blown away with all of them.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm really glad to see your face. We've exchanged many messages before, but it's lovely to get to know you as a human a little better and to get to know more about your project. I'm really thrilled to have positive sci-fi. I feel like I got a good sense of your project. The thing I'm most excited about is you pursuing this in with the tools that you have available right now. And I think there's
mm,
so much interesting stuff happening with AI filmmaking, and the
yeah,
bit that I love, as I was a filmmaker for well over a decade. That was my first love. Went to school for it, and it's a very expensive medium. You've got to pull in
mm,
tons of people, and there's a Orson Welles quote that always has stuck with me, which is that he spent 98% of his time on hustling to raise money and 2% on actually filmmaking. But with AI filmmaking, I feel like you can have a similar relationship to the creative process as like a novelist. It's sitting down, it's one person, you spit your ideas out on paper with words, and now you can take those words and turn them into actual film. So for me, I'm just very excited about that as a genre. So do what your heart tells you, but that's the thing I'm most excited about this. I'd love to see like maybe the next step be just a short film, a beautiful trailer for the project. And
yes. I'd love to. Actually, that's what I will be doing with this as the next step. And yes, the democratization of filmmaking and imagination in general is just a beautiful, beautiful thing that we see because of technology.
mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, amen. Well, again, thank you so much. And let's welcome up our final presenter and musical performer, my good friend Tamara. Scott's going to be pushing some buttons. People are going to be disappearing and reappearing. I'm going to be in a disembodied gray rectangle for a few moments as we wait for